Required minimum distributions, or RMDs, and Roth conversions don't mix, right? Well, maybe not, okay? Maybe not. I've got a great question from fan of the show that actually leverages both RMDs and Roth conversions, doing some RMD planning. I've got that and more coming up. RMDs, Roth conversions, IRMAA, oh gosh, all of these things sort of can work together if you're being planful and hopefully being proactive with your tax picture. Otherwise, these are competing forces, guys. They are. And you might even say, well, right, required minimum distributions and Roth conversions, that doesn't mix, right? And yes, okay, in some instance, or maybe at the surface, that is true. However, when you are planning ahead, when you are getting proactive with your tax picture, then you can leverage one to minimize the other. You can even do both at the same time or in the same year if you do it right. Let's dive in. Got a great question from a fan of the show on a recent show that we did about when it would make sense to convert in the 22 and 24% tax bracket. It's not going to make sense for everyone, but it certainly can make sense for a lot of people. And yeah, when you are over the age of 65, or especially if you're taking required minimum distributions, you also need to be aware of how your RMDs or Roth conversions would impact your income-related monthly adjustment amount, or IRMAA, for your Medicare Part B and Part D. So there's a lot that needs to be considered. Let's dive into the question. I have a question. I will not pay the IRMAA cliff premiums despite what my planner says. I'm not sure what is referenced there, but more details here in a second. Can you take your RMDs, some of the money is necessary for funding our living costs, and put that into a Roth conversion account? I'm 74, turning 75 in 2026. My wife will be 73 this December, meaning she will need to start taking required minimum distributions this year. Even though she's turning 73 at the end of the year in December, she's got to take required minimum distributions this year. I did put a limited $25,000 Roth conversion from my IRA last year. My planner recommended 70. Actually, at first she said 100,000, but that would mean we're way over the IRMAA cliff. No way that made sense to me. I probably want to do a similar or slightly higher Roth conversion in 2026. By the way, the $25,000 Roth conversion that I did in 2025 was on top of the RMDs that I need to take. Okay, so a lot going on there. Hopefully that made sense. But essentially, in 2025, this individual, their planner said, you should do a big Roth conversion, $100,000 or maybe even $70,000. And he said, no, that I'm going to have to pay IRMAA on that. And so I don't want to do that amount. Now listen, just a quick side comment there. Your financial planner, if they're truly doing financial planning, they should have been aware that that was going to trigger IRMAA. And they should have been able to kind of voice the case for, you know what, this is going to create IRMAA for this 1 year. And I'm willing, it seems to make sense that you would do that. Here's the math on that. Here's what you'd be giving up. Here's what the cost would be. But here's what the long-term benefit would be. And therefore, I think you should. They should be able to kind of justify that. They should be aware of it. If they weren't aware that that was going to cause IRMAA, don't work with that financial planner. Okay, they're likely not doing comprehensive financial planning, and they don't know about that tax planning issue creating protection planning problems. Okay, so yeah, that's a quick aside. So anyway, this individual said, instead of doing all that, did a $25,000 Roth conversion in 2025, and this was on top of their required minimum distributions. Now for 2026, his spouse is needing to do RMDs as well. Can we do a Roth conversion of those RMDs? That's just to catch you up. The short answer is no. This is one of the restrictions. This is one of the limitations. Along with the R of RMD stands for required. You are required. It's restricted. Like you have to do it. You can't do a Roth conversion of your required minimum distribution. And that leads, and I've done a lot of content on this, so forgive me if this is a repeat, but that leads a lot of people to say, well, by this stage of the game, I'm done with Roth conversions. No. That's a fallacy. Okay, you still want to take a look every single year and say, does it make sense for me to do a Roth conversion? If nothing has changed, then yeah, and okay, maybe you don't again this year, and nothing changed. Maybe you don't again this year. Maybe nothing's changed. But things are changing all the time. Your income's changing, your situation's changing, the tax laws are changing, right? Now you need to plan for the new senior deduction. So listen, you can't do a Roth conversion of your required minimum distribution, but you can still do a Roth conversion. You've just got to take your required minimum distributions first. Here is a common strategy. Plan out your 2026 taxes. Do a tax projection. That's what we call it. That's basically where, even right now, early in the year, you're projecting out, all right, here's what I'm thinking my income's going to look like and my taxes will look like in 2026. I've got this much pension, we've got this much Social Security, we typically have about this much interest land on our tax return, and we're withdrawing this much. These are our RMDs, we're withdrawing this much out of our IRAs. Here's what my tax return is going to look like. And ideally, you're doing this for multiple years, multi-year tax projection. Here's what I think 26 is going to look like, 27, 28. And you can sort of see, all right, if tax laws don't change or my situation doesn't change, here's sort of the baseline expectation for our taxes. Well, in that view, you can then look and say, all right, how much taxes will I owe on these Roth conversions? Or like, am I withholding the right amount? And typically when you start doing, RMDs, you've got to figure out how much tax should I withhold. So when you do this calculation, when you do that tax projection, you should be able to see, yep, I'm going to owe $3,000 of tax or something like that. Well, now, based on that tax projection, if you look and say, yeah, but let me do a Roth conversion above and beyond my RMD, my spouse's RMD, above and beyond that, I want to do a Roth conversion to get right up to the edge of IRMAA, right up to the edge of IRMAA. Put that in that tax projection and now see how much you're going to owe in taxes. And then here's what you would do. Based on that clarity, you take your required minimum distribution and withhold for taxes, like all of it, right? Or whatever the amount is that you need to set aside for your tax bill based on that that Roth conversion, withhold that from your RMD and take that. And then after your RMD is satisfied, then you're allowed to do that Roth conversion. No tax withholdings. You've got all of that money now over in the Roth, growing tax sheltered, tax-free for the rest of your life. That's that double strategy. Using your RMDs to cover the taxes, and then you do a full Roth conversion after that. Let's quickly pretend that your required minimum distribution is $15,000, okay? And you're in the 22% tax bracket, say state taxes, another 5%, okay? So your required minimum distribution is $15,000. And when you do this tax projection, you look and you say, I can do a Roth conversion of another $35,000 above and beyond my RMD to get right up to that IRMAA limit, right? So I'm below that and I don't hit the cliff, okay? So you then do that math and say, well, geez, on my 15,000 RMD plus another 35 Roth conversion, the taxes, federal and state taxes on that is gonna be, $13,000, $14,000, something like that. So then you take your required minimum distribution, that $15,000, you take that out of your IRA and you withhold it for federal and state taxes, almost all of it, okay? That's just for example. And then this $35,000, you then do a Roth conversion and you withhold nothing. You transfer and convert that entire $35,000 over to your Roth IRA. That's that Roth conversion strategy with your RMD. So can you do a Roth conversion of your RMD directly? No, you can't. You can't. But that doesn't mean the planning stops or there isn't a way to plan and do Roth conversions in the future. Why is that important? Because Roth conversions in the future not only will avoid you having to pay tax on the growth of those dollars out there in the future, you're going to reduce your required minimum distribution out there in the future because you transferred dollars from your IRA to your Roth, and it's going to help with your estate planning as well. Whoever inherits these dollars as they inherit the Roth, they're not going to take an RMD. They're not going to have to pay tax on it as well. So work with your certified financial planner on a strategy like that. Or maybe if RMDs aren't like on your horizon for several years, work with your CFP to start doing some RMD planning right now. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K. Wise20show.com. You can find us there as well, or send us an email, info@korhorn.com. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.